That one glorious word represents more than just the geography between the Sabine and the Rio Grande. It represents a unique idea and way of life. A life of rugged individualism, proud self-reliance, gritty toughness, and fierce independence. That is what made Texas, and that is what will save her again. Howdy, folks. Sam Houston here. I want to thank you for tuning into the Feed Bandit podcast. Feed Bandit is the Texas first outdoors brand built by rabid Texans, for rabid Texans, and all those who aim to be one someday. We unapologetically promote the ideals that shape our Texas pride and Texas first patriotism through our love of hunting, the outdoors, and the gear and apparel we create. Texas, above all else, preserve the tradition, protect the legacy. Check us out at feedbandit.com. And to repeat that great rallying cry from a former colleague of mine, liberty or death. Now, enough of my talking. Here are a couple of bandits that love Texas as much as I do. Enjoy.
Howdy, friend. Welcome back to the Feed Bandit podcast. Jimmy here, flying solo on this one. Thanks so much for tuning in again to another edition. We're really excited again to be back in the saddle, doing these things, recording these things. Hopefully we'll bring you a lot of value. I just wanted to reiterate some of the things that old General Sam said there at the beginning. The new and improved Feed Bandit, what are we all about? Well, we're all about Texas. And what do I mean by when I say Texas? Well, we're still all about hunting and the outdoors, no doubt about it. That's the core of our ethos. Feed Bandit is the Texas first outdoor brand. And what do we mean? Well, we're refocusing Feed Bandit on the intersection, if I could say that, between hunting, the outdoors life that we love, with our love of Texas itself. We truly believe that we're sort of at I guess you could say, a crossroads in history, if I could be so bold, where we want to spread as much awareness as possible of the amazing future that can be possible in Texas, the amazing opportunities there are, not only in general life here in the state, but also how does that kind of meld with our love of the outdoors and our love of hunting? And I think over the course of our future podcasts and whatnot, you'll see how those things are connected, how a passion for the land that you live in, a passion for understanding its history, understanding, the possibilities of how a once great land, it's still great, don't get me wrong, but it still has so much potential in the future that we just can't keep our mouth shut about it. And what we're going to be doing is creating some awesome outdoor gear, some awesome hunting gear, some awesome apparel that will allow you to, number one, take advantage of the outdoors more efficiently, more fun, but also wear your Texas pride on your shoulders, literally. So it's gonna be a fun time going forward. We have some amazing stuff coming up, and I will say part of what you'll be hearing out of these broadcasts going forward will be a little different in that because we're gonna focus a lot more on Texas. There's going to be some themes that go a little beyond hunting itself or beyond the outdoors itself. They're going to be, some may be, I don't know, controversial, although not controversial in my mind. Some may be thought-provoking. Hopefully they are. That's the whole point of all this. We're here to learn. We're here to think things through. We're here to, in the end, make life better for all of us. Hopefully we can be a small part of doing that. So I want to start having some fairly regular shorts, if you will. So meaning, not the shorts you wear, but short podcast broadcasts, if you will, where, I go on a journey along with you and we learn some Texas history, and we see, how can that apply to, what's going on today. I also want to explore, current events, how do those affect us as Texans? And how can we view those things? How can we, actually see long-term possible effects of things that go on in the state? And then of course, we're going to do our ton of hunting talk, continuing to do that, outdoors talk in general. We love doing that. But really, the audience that we hope ends up listening to this are guys and gals that love the outdoors, love hunting, love the land, love being in Texas, love every aspect of the state, the nature, all the aspects that go into it, the geography, the animals, what we want to preserve, everything that's here, and we want to grow it for our posterity. That's why we say Texas above all else. Preserve the tradition, protect the legacy. That's the whole point about what we're about here. And, you can do that strictly through the outdoors and hunting and whatnot, but I think it spills over into almost everything in our everyday life. So it's important to understand the past, which we'll be talking a lot about, but also to understand the present, so that maybe we can take those two things and extrapolate into the future. Because I got to tell you, now that I have and I'm raising 2 young children here, I would feel bad if I went to my deathbed and didn't try to do something to ensure that this great state, this great country, as I call it, Texas, is pointed in the right direction. We're not sitting back and taking, what we're given, basically. So that's kind of what we're going to also do with this podcast. Jimmy, will be doing some on my own. Old Corn Bandit, Richard, he'll be doing a lot on his own. We'll come together, talk about big topics together. We'll want to talk to a lot of Texas-based businesses, people in Texas, this type of thing. So we'll bring you interviews with these people that'll be very interesting. We're really excited to start doing that. And then hopefully you'll join me and Richard in being warriors for Texas, because we believe in the future and we believe that Texas can and will be the greatest country in the world again. So stick around whenever that gear or whenever that apparel comes out and the gear that we're working on, you're going to love it. So hopefully all these things come together and make it a special thing, and hopefully we want you to join us, join the tribe, join us as we say as Sam says in the intro as well. Feed Bandit is a brand built by rabid Texans, Richard and I, for rabid Texans, I would think, and all those who aim to be one someday. And I think that may be some others listening. So there's, Texas is a place. Texas is a frame of mind. Texas is something special in the world, no question about it. But that doesn't mean that folks that don't live here can't also live that way or try to bring as much of that specialness to where you live right now. So, hopefully this is what we're going to achieve on this podcast. We're really excited to do it. Again, we're going to get into talking about things that maybe you've never really thought through or heard anyone talking about before around the idea of Texas. So it's going to be quite amazing. You know, and hopefully, if you're sitting there in a deer blind by yourself or out in the dove field, pop in your earbuds and put on some episodes and get to thinking about what we're saying. And of course, if we say anything here that you truly disagree with or whatnot, then we want you to let us know. Give us your feedback. We don't know everything. We're just giving you our opinions, our thoughts, our predictions, or that type of stuff. So the floor is open for everybody to give us some feedback on what's going on. So all that being said, there are a couple interesting things that I wanted to point out and talk about that I saw over the course of this week, at least history-wise. The first one, which is pretty interesting, is depending on when you're listening to this, this will be released around this day. It'll be after this day, but to get you centered on timing of some historical things that went on in Texas, that on September 5th, 1836, Sam Houston, our gracious intro and outro, host, or what you could call it, or he was very gracious to record that for us, so we're very honored to have him do that. He was elected the first president of the Republic of Texas. Again, that was on September 5th, 1836. It says this is a pretty good, interesting email list that I'm subscribed to. It's Today in Texas History, so you're welcome to go subscribe to it yourself. It's from the Texas State Historical Association. Go check them out. Very interesting stuff there. It says, on this day in 1836, Sam Houston, the victor of San Jacinto, was elected president of the newly founded Republic of Texas. Candidates for office had included Henry Smith, the governor of the provincial government, and Stephen F. Austin. Houston became an active candidate just 11 days before the election. He received 5,119 votes. Smith received 743 and Austin 587. Marabou B. Lamar, the quote-unquote keenest blade at San Jacinto, was elected vice president. Houston received strong support from the Army and from those who believed that his election would ensure internal stability, hasten recognition by world powers, and bring about early annexation to the United States. He served 2 terms as president of the Republic and was subsequently a United States senator and governor of the state of Texas. So that's pretty interesting. Interesting timing. We're releasing these comeback episodes around the time that old General Sam was elected first president. 2 things I want to make a little comment on about that. That's interesting. That of course Houston was elected. I mean, it was when he entered, it was probably a foregone conclusion, and very much like when the 13 colonies, or when the United States, the 13 colonies created the new Constitution, and then he had to elect a president. Well, I mean, who else was it going to be? It was going to be General George Washington, who won independence, right? So that was kind of, Houston can be viewed as kind of our George Washington here and for the Republic of Texas. And what's interesting about this, and one thing that in these missives in the future, these broadcasts, we're going to talk a lot about kind of looking back at history, and what was mentioned here is electing Houston would help to bring about an early annexation to the United States. One thing that I kind of want to explore here with you guys is, what has that done? Where are we now? What ifs, in history? What if, and what might happen in the future? Around Texas being part of the United States. It's very interesting. It's a lot going on there. a lot of talk about independence and whatnot, and you know, we're not going to be shy about talking about that here. So it's going to be an interesting thing to explore. That's for sure. So that was very interesting. You know, for that to have come up around this time. There's also something else that I saw that kind of got my blood boiling about what's going on right now in Texas. And boy, oh boy, this is something that's going to be interesting that we might be hearing more and more about, especially as hunters when we're sitting out on ranches, sitting in deer blinds, or walking through our land and property and stuff. That we've heard this for a long time, but now it's going to be very interesting going forward. But uh, for the longest time, and we've known a lot of people that hunt in deep, deep South Texas Valley, that kind of area and whatnot, and where people have their ranches, their hunting lease, things of that nature. And a lot of friends, they just not able to leave their gear there. They have to try to take it all home and stuff. Why? Well, because illegal aliens crossing the border, and they cross through people's properties, they'll break into houses and break in whatever, and they'll take your stuff. So you can't trust or rely on your home, your lease or whatever, your ranch or whatever being secure. Because the border's been leaking like a sieve, right? Well, now, and this is not necessarily directly related to like a hunting lease or hunting land or whatever, but it goes to show the possibility of things getting significantly worse everywhere. The looting, let's say, in rural areas and whatnot. And there's this article that I saw on Zero Hedge titled "It's Spreading: America's Top Oil Field Terrorized by Armed Venezuelan Gangs." So, one of the big things here of us is, if you're going to preserve a tradition and preserve a legacy, you gotta. A lot of that boils down to, in the end, this area called Texas. We have to protect our border. We have to control who comes here. If you don't control who comes here, and they don't care about the legacy that's here, they don't care about traditions that are here, they don't respect any of our laws and this type of thing, then it will destroy the culture here. It will destroy everything that was built from the time from September 5th, 1836, when General Sam was elected president, to now. All the good stuff that was created here. I mean, this is a terrible situation that's going on at the border. Quite frankly, I wish we had a governor that had, the cojones to stand up to the federal government and say, no, we're closing it down totally, and you can't stop us, But I can get into that stuff later. But this is very interesting. It's saying, I'll read the article here a little bit, saying, quote, it's only going to get worse from here, as the Biden-Harris administration's disastrous open border policies have now come to a neighborhood near you. In the past week, we saw an armed Venezuelan prison gang, Tren de Aragua members, terrorize the northern Denver suburb of Aurora and other sanctuary cities run by far-left Democrats. New concerns out Thursday afternoon indicate critical infrastructure is now under threat from migrant cartel members. A Texas-based oil and gas company issued a memo to employees informing them that police and the FBI have warned armed Cuban and Venezuelan migrant gangs are committing thefts in the Permian Basin, which is America's highest producing oil field. Unbelievable. See, this is unbelievable. This is what it's coming to now. We've been completely invaded, and now the invaders are starting to take over the most precious and most important supply resources that are here. If they're going to do that, do you think anything's going to stop them from bothering to, cut a lock on a gate and drive onto your ranch? No, of course not. They're not scared. They're here. They don't give a what. They don't give a spat whatsoever. So it says in the memo, it says, industry peers and law enforcement in West Texas are aware of a recent increase in organized criminal activity, inclusive of violent crimes, gang activity, and oil-filled thefts in and around West Texas operational areas. Specifically, regional law enforcement and the FBI advised that gang members emanating from Cuba and Venezuela are organizing and working in concert to commit thefts within the Permian Basin. These individuals and groups are armed, violent in nature, and will not hesitate to use force. Well, you know how you fight that? Right. You counter that with force. So I'm going to be interested to see what the governor says and does about this. So I'm going to continue here in this memo. It says, crimes associated with these groups include the theft of oil, diesel fuel, copper wire, and catalyst elements. Recent incidents have also included 2 assaults by water haulers who were attempting to steal from West Texas oil fields. After the thieves were observed by witnesses who drove up to investigate, the thieves attempted to use their vehicles to run the witnesses off the road. In another incident, a thief acting as a spotter and following a water hauler who had stolen oil also attempted to run a witness off the road. There have been numerous reports of second vehicles acting as spotters for water haulers committing oil thefts. My God. This is unbelievable. So, when you're going out to your ranch, go fill your feeders, things of this nature, keep your head on a swivel. You wouldn't think you'd have to do that for anything but maybe a mountain lion, or a coyote or something like that. I mean, at the worst. But now you got armed Cuban and Venezuelan gangs coming through because the federal government doesn't care about protecting the border here. And now we have this in Texas. So this is a perfect example of the things that we're going to be talking about here on Feed Bandit beyond just pure, outdoors or hunting topics. I mean, this affects all of us here, right? So perfect example, something that we got to understand here. If we want Texas to continue to be the greatest place in the world, not just for outdoors and for hunting, but for life, we have to have an area where we can live comfortably and not have armed gangs running around like this. We have to think about these things too, So this is just a high level touch on this type of stuff, but we'll talk about this, a little more, as the episodes go on, as we get our groove, and work out the kinks, if you will, things of that nature. So hopefully you'll enjoy our commentary, our observations along the lines of all this stuff. We're expanding the scope, if you will, of purely hunting discussions to Texas and everything that affects our amazingly great state here. So, and I'll just add another small anecdote. One very amazingly good friend of the Feed Bandit program is a peace officer up in the Dallas area, and he was informing us this last weekend that, yes, there are for sure Venezuelan gangs even in the Dallas area, and they're doing some amazingly crazy things there. And, if this is not nipped in the bud, there's going to be problems. And it requires all of us to wake up, because if we can't have a tranquil society here, then we're not going to all the fun things, the hunting and all these amazing things will not happen. And I'll connect the dots there, in the future. But, order is essential. So, and if you're being invaded and doing nothing about it, there can be no order, as we've seen from this completely amazing article that I read. I found it on Zero Hedge, and when I read it, I just almost fell off the toilet, So just amazing, absolutely amazing to me. It sickens me and makes me sad for my state, especially, and it makes me mad that I don't hear anything from these politicians, Republican or Democrat, in Austin, saying or doing anything about it. Really, I mean, what are they really doing? This is still happening. come in, clear these people out. Do it. Don't wait for the federal government to do it. Just argues for taking matters into our own hands here and taking care of our own state and not asking for permission from Mordor and D.C., So anyway, that's how it goes. So when you're out at your ranch in the coming weeks, sitting there hunting dove and whatnot, just, be thinking. This goes to show West Texas is not even immune, obviously. So it's not just the valley, or deep South Texas. It's all the way up in West Texas, so absolutely crazy stuff going on. Spread the word to your friends of what's going on and get them thinking about how we can button up our state and, prevent these type of things from happening, so just be on the lookout. And, if you're in a illegal immigrant prone area, or a passageway, or whatever you want to call it, you probably know not to leave your stuff, but I would highly suggest, if this is the first time you're hearing it, pack up your stuff when you leave, unfortunately. Or, I don't know, somehow lock it up to where it'd be difficult to get into. But, if you're not there, if you're hours away and it just has a bolt lock or something on there, is that going to stop someone with, bolt cutters or whatever? So it's a damn shame. You wouldn't have to worry about this type of stuff. You would be able to, relax that all your stuff is on your ranch down there, or really anywhere, safe and secure, if we were confident that our border was safe and secure. So very interesting stuff. So I hope that gives just a little taste of kind of what I'm wanting to do. Again, I'm going to hit you up with more interesting history, and then we'll talk about other topics in the news that either directly or indirectly affect, our outdoors life, our hunting life, or just our general state of mind, state of living here in Texas. And we'll never fail to give our opinion, whether wanted or not, on what should be done about it and how to make things better. Because why? In the end, our goal here is to make things better, because we both have 2 kids that we're raising, and we want them, when they're our age, to be safe and secure. And I want to be safe and secure, knowing that I did whatever I could to help out the matter, make things better. So with that, I'm going to leave y'all at this point, and just stay tuned. It's going to be fun. I'll try to probably maybe put a moniker on the title of these things, if it's a one-off, as far as just a history kind of lesson, or if it's just some sort of commentary lesson, maybe. So hopefully the subjects will give you an idea of what we're talking about here. But just keep posted, keep connected, and join our email list. That's a great way to stay connected. If you're just now finding us, go to feedbandit.com and join our email list. We'll keep in touch, and thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Well, I hope the Bandits gave you an interesting episode that either entertained or educated you. Or better yet, both. Hell, I told them this podcasting thing looks harder to do than defeating Santa Anna. So if you would, please help them out by sharing it with all your like-minded friends to help the Bandits get the word out. And don't forget to check us out at feedbandit.com and grab some gear and apparel to support the cause of Texas. Remember, Texas, above all else, preserve the tradition, protect the legacy. Finally, as I said some time ago on the eve of the great battle, and I vigorously repeat here again, be men. Be free men, that your children may bless their father's name. Well, fellow bandit, until next time.